Auntie Darlene. So, what is your full name?
My full name is Darlene Leslie, maiden name Dantzler, married name Darlene Leslie Treiner.
Oh,
Fun fact.
what is the place of your birth? Give me
Los
the.
Angeles.
Oh, okay.
Born and raised in Los I was born in John
answer.
Wesley Hospital. Back
Wow.
way back when.
And what is your birthday, if you don't mind?
It's November.
sharing?
November 19th, 1959.
Wonderful.
Where does Leslie come from?
I have no idea because there's not a Leslie in the family that I know of.
Huh.
I don't know where my mother, I don't remember where she got it from. It might be my father's middle name, but he never used it because it was, sometimes I would see Alan L. Dantzler.
Oh.
So it may be that, and he was hoping for a boy.
Oh.
Hence the reason why my sister before me is called Aline. Get it? Alan with the E on the end.
Oh.
Yeah.
Aline.
I'm trying to remember, like the auntie was a Corvette, Yvette, cousin Yvonne.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
So,
And John Wesley Hospital, where is that?
Somewhere down, it was downtown. I don't know if it still exists or not, but it was somewhere near downtown. It wasn't Big G.
Hmm.
It wasn't with Big General Hospital. It was
Yeah,
John
yeah.
Wesley Hospital. That's
Mhm.
what's on my birth certificate.
So cool.
okay. Where did you grow up?
Wow, that varies. I remember 3 homes.
Okay.
The one I remember when I was probably the youngest, and that's when my oldest, next to the oldest sister died, Dorothy Ann. I was barely 2, and she was 11.
Mm.
She had a hole in her heart, and they didn't know what to do back in the day for a hole in her heart, so she passed away. Anyway, that was on McKinley, and I can remember that street because there was a white front department store across the street. 1965 riots, my father ran his chubby butt over the white front, and we saw him. The police were already out because this was the 65 riots. That was a huge thing back then.
65 of that.
1965
Was that
riots,
LA?
LA riots.
Hmm.
And he had dresses. We saw him, me, my sister, Joanne, and Yvette. We saw him coming out. He had an arm full of dresses. The police shot at him, and they didn't get him, but he dropped the dresses and ran back to the house. They shot at him.
That is a wild story
That's
I've never heard.
intense.
I'm surprised you didn't tell you that story.
What a memory to remember.
Yeah, but we lived at that house.
So, what is white front?
It was like a Zodi's or
Like a boutique?
no, it's like a JCPenney or
okay.
it was one of those stores before those. Yeah, it was one of those stores.
Okay.
But it was very inexpensive. Like Zodi's was a store in the early 70s that was very inexpensive. A lot of Black people went to Zodi's.
Okay.
But we lived there, and then we moved somewhere further on the east side than where we were.
Yeah.
Because our next door neighbors was an older white couple.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? No, that was on 4th Avenue. There were Latinos, and we hadn't been around Latinos before. And the girls would roll their hair with, like a little tomato paste can. They would use. They would
here.
They used to do that in the 60s back all the time.
Wow.
They were empty.
Yeah, duh.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they cut out both of the tops,
Oh
and they
my God.
ripped it out, and they would, and their hair was so long they could do that.
Wow.
I mean, we had the sponge rollers.
Man.
Yeah. You do what you got to do.
This is so off the subject, but like nowadays, people, there's like YouTube videos of people doing it with plastic bags, like all kind of stuff.
Put in here? That's so cool.
Coming in here, yeah, with like the older ways where we've evolved from.
DIY kind of
thing. Right. When you did what you had to do because you couldn't necessarily afford rollers. But we lived at that house for, I don't know, a few years, and then the house where I went was, the McKinley house is where we went to Miramonte Elementary School. My kindergarten teacher's name was Mrs. Trainer, my favorite teacher in the whole world. She loved me. I don't know why, but she loved me. I was her favorite student. When there was parent-teacher night, she would tell my parents, she's so smart, she's so good, she does everything I ask her to do. Loved her. And then from 4th grade we moved over to the west side. That's the house on 4th Avenue in Slauson.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, we was on the west side. We were like, we had arrived because we was on the west side.
Now back then, was the west side like west of the 110? What made it the west side?
Yeah, it was west of the 110.
Yeah.
And it was a more affluent neighborhoods.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I mean, the house we lived in on where Whitefront was, that house was small. It was not in great condition. Wow. My mother always had great taste in furniture, so it was of course immaculate. Sure. You do know my mother was a maid for a living. Yeah. So everything immaculate every day, 7 days a week. But the west side, it was safer, you know. Yeah. My brother wasn't in a gang, but he knew all the gang members. They knew where he lived. They knew our parents. I mean,
he was affiliated.
That's what he was. He was affiliated, and they would look out for us. But that didn't happen until we moved on 4th Avenue.
You got put on 6 times 10 with an S on the end.
Yeah.
Let me leave it at that.
I mean, but you hear Junior remembers.
Yeah, Junior grew up with.
And Roberta remembered.
Yep.
Their Uncle Punky.
Yeah, Junior's a huge fan.
Wow. Huge fan. Me and Punky shared a room, so he was
just
the world
present. Aww, that's so cool.
That's so sweet. So what is your current age?
59. Oh God, I'm out of 50. 60, 61. I'll be 62 in November.
Wow, you're a very young 62.
You and Yvette were both born in November. I heard.
She's on the 21st. I'm on the 19th. So November 20th was the same age for
Mommy me. Had broke it down how like her and Punky were both born in March, and then Auntie Annie and
it had to be Dorothy Ann.
Were both born in the same month.
Yeah. And then maybe how do you couldn't plan that. You couldn't even plan that if you wanted to.
So we have, what is today's current date? What is today's date and time?
April something, 20 something.
April 24th.
Saturday, April 24th, 2021.
We should let you say that, Walter.
Yeah, because this date thing, I'm gonna put this on this film because this is like really deep. I thought it so important to just kind of, because it's an archive.
Mm-hmm.
I was asking my mother-in-law about her relationship with her father and all kind of stuff about love, whatever. And she was like, she hasn't talked to him in years, and she know he's sick and da da da. And I was like, what if he dies? And she was like, mixed emotions. I'm like, okay, crazy. Less than 24 hours. It was her meeting started at 2:00 on Sunday. On Monday at like 11, Alethea got a call that her grandfather passed away.
Really?
And we were just talking about like reaching out.
Wow.
It was like on a Sunday at 2:00 we had the meeting, and then literally Monday at like before noon she called and like passed away.
Wow.
Yeah. So like it's deep.
Yeah, that's deep.
It's like, you know, and that's on tape. She was talking about it.
Right.
And I was like, okay. And I was like, you sure?
Did you put something into motion
so
here?
It just ages. It
Right.
just I knew it would age that way, you know. So
yeah, I mean, it's understandable. So what is your current occupation, your historical occupation as well?
Okay, funny story. I'm currently in the field of human resources.
Yeah.
Love the field of human resources. However, as a kid, that is not what I wanted to do.
Okay.
As a child, I wanted to be a flight attendant, a stewardess, because I wanted to see the world. And my parents, which is why I never went away to college, didn't want that. They didn't want that. I got into high school. Now, you take all the classes in junior high to prepare you for high school. So I took typing.
You went to Crenshaw?
I went to Crenshaw. Graduated from Crenshaw with honors. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Anyway, so I found out that there's a weight restriction now put on stewardess. You couldn't be over 110.
Wow.
Could not be over. That's what it was.
Okay, that makes sense.
Back in
It
the.
does make sense.
Yes,
like
it does.
The weight and the plane.
But it's changed.
It's changed
now.
dramatically.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be anything now.
So no man was a steward. Like,
Yeah, historically,
No, they were considered female positions.
very beautiful, very thin women.
Very thin
That was
women.
part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
That's healthy.
I was exactly. I was like, what, 15 going to high school, and I was already over 110.
No, she's not 110.
a little person.
It is a little
That's a
person.
small person.
So I had
I
to
was
change
110 in 8th grade.
I had to change my thought process. Well, gosh. So then I started taking shorthand in high school. I was so good at it that I took it in junior college. I went to Southwest Junior College, and I had a business teacher. I was at shorthand 4 at this time, and she said, "You got real good talent, Darlene." And she just left it like that. And I was her favorite too. Everybody knew I was her favorite student. She walked in one day and she just starts talking. And you got to be ready every time she walked through that door. You didn't know when she was going to start dictating. And she started dictating. And so I started writing. She stopped. She said, "Darlene, did you get that?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Read it back to me." I read it back 100% correct. She talked to me after class and she said, "I want you to enter a contest for shorthand." Who knew they had a shorthand contest?
Wow.
It's called the Nancy Nolan Shorthand Contest. Nancy Nolan is the lady who invented shorthand.
Wow.
I won first place.
What you win? What was the prize?
A job.
Oh, snap.
Can you believe that? I won. That's how I got into the field of business.
Wow.
I was okay. I was gonna go for a secretary. I didn't care. I don't mind getting coffee. My mother was a maid for a living. What am I gonna sit here and squawk about that?
Yeah.
So when they called to tell me what the prize was, they said, "Well, okay, so you won. You beat out all these hundreds of people, and
Where was this?
This was in LA.
Southwest College.
Oh, hello, Imperial and Western.
Oh yeah.
And they said, you need to go here, this certain place, this certain time. And it was an interview for the job, got hired on the spot with U.S. Geological Survey, with the government.
Wow.
I got a job with the government. I was like 21.
Wow.
And they put me in the HR department. And I started learning. I was a secretary for a minute. And they put me in the HR department. I started learning HR, and I thought I was really a good fit for HR.
So you was in HR since 21.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. Love it. I get paid to help people, and that's what I like. And I get that spirit of servitude from my mom because, again, as being a maid, my mother would bring people home and let them eat and spend the night because she just had that heart, and helping people was her thing. And I got that gene.
Oh, wow. Well, you already answered the next question.
Okay.
What is your dream career? And you said
the stories? As an adult, did it change your dream?
Yeah, it changed to human resources.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Yeah, I let the students go.
That is so cool. So, okay, what is your mother's full name?
Annie Ciola Dantzler.
Ciola. How is that spelled?
We don't know. She didn't know either. Ooh. That's why they call her Annie C. She was 13 when she got married the first time. So come on.
She was 13?
Yeah, her first marriage, she was 13. They could do that in Mississippi.
Christ.
And that makes sense regarding Auntie Annie.
Right. That's right. That's why she was so much older than us.
Okay, so what is your father's full name?
Alan L, and I'm assuming the L is for Leslie Dantzler.
Got it. What is your fondest memory about your mom?
Okay, I'm gonna let you have that.
Trying to get that juices right. Trying to get that juice.
Probably watching her cook and trying to teach your mother how to cook. It was hard. Yeah, it was. My mother's patience was not one of her strong suits.
Didn't mommy mention something about grandma cooking with grandma, something like that? She probably did. I think I remember that. So cool.
Yeah, so my mother had a beautiful heart. She was fun. We would play games before there was such thing as a game night. We used to play Monopoly all the time. My mother loved that game. We played Twister before she got to where she couldn't walk.
Yeah.
Love that game. Yeah. She played Twister.
We're gonna play this game. I could just see that. That is so awesome.
So
Wow.
just those little things.
Yeah.
You know, my mother was very strict,
Mhm.
especially once she became a Christian. It was like
And
I was,
do.
I probably would have never moved, but she told me I couldn't be out past midnight, and I'm over 20 years old. So dating grown men, what do you mean you have to be home by midnight? They don't understand that. But
Dang, really?
yeah,
Like,
my mother was strict. My mother was strict.
And she was married at 13.
Yeah.
So wow, okay. What is your fondest memory of your dad?
Christmas morning. So Christmas Eve, my dad would make, I don't know what you would call them now, but he made us boxes. He got old shoe boxes. My parents loved nuts. They're from the South. They loved every kind of nuts. He would put nuts, fresh fruit, and orange slices in the boxes, and for Chris, and he would put them on our little fake fireplace. And when we get them, Merry Christmas, there's your boxes, and just have our little names written on them. And he got so excited because that was what he could do. My mother ran that house. My mother, whatever she wanted done, you do this, you do that, including my father. You do this, you do that. So this was his thing, and he would start putting together his little candies and nuts and putting them to the side. It's like, yeah, that's so cool.
That is so sweet. Okay, what is your least fondest memory of your mom?
Making us clean. We washed walls every summer. When the walls couldn't be washed anymore, we painted. Exactly. We painted the house. Why? We're children. We are children. The worst thing was my brother. My mother treated him like he was a king because he was the only son. So we took out the trash. Yeah, that's where she got it from. The girls took out the trash. My mother wanted a garden in our backyard. My mother made the three girls, me, Joanne, Yvette, tear down the garage. We girls. My brother was nowhere to be found. Didn't even get him. Tore down a full standing garage.
What did y'all use to tear it down? Like tools and stuff?
Axe.
Oh, wow.
And then once we started hitting the doors, luckily the roof caved in. But it's like, why are we doing this? And then on top of that, we had a lemon tree. She had that professionally cut down. Yeah. We had to dig up the backyard because she had to plant the garden somewhere. And that's why she didn't want the garage near the planted food.
I love that garden. It was there when
it was a beautiful garden.
We ate those greens. You can smell them when you go in the back. You can smell
cantaloupe, watermelon, celery, lettuce. She had a fantastic garden.
My grandmother would have loved that.
She had a fantastic. She was giving people food. It was so much.
We would get bags.
But we were tired of it. It's like, oh God, really? Garden again?
That thing was there for years, man.
Yeah, it was there for years.
What is your least fondest memory or your worst memory or whatever about your dad?
Wow, I don't really have to share this story because it sounds really odd. So when my father got sick with this really rare muscle disease, and that's why he was unemployed and couldn't work anymore, a year before my mother. A year before, because they got sick like right behind each other and they both had to be medically retired. He couldn't
remember around what age were they?
They were, oh God, they were in their, I want to say 40s. They were young. They were young.
Wait, so grandma wasn't able to work when she was in her 40s?
I know that was traumatic. I know that was traumatic.
And they both worked every day. My father didn't work because my mother sometimes would work because she worked for various little hotels. And then she got her dream job at one of the big LAX hotels. And she actually got promoted to like almost what you would consider a supervisor. And I say that because, my mother only had a third grade education.
I heard about that.
Third grade, my mother reading and writing was not great.
We're like 13 and like just going on. I can see that. In Mississippi today.
Yeah, right? It's not much better.
Education.
Exactly.
It's like the worst in the country. Yeah.
So my dad couldn't reach it. My dad wasn't big down here. He had a big belly. but he couldn't reach his legs. He couldn't reach his toes.
Mm-hmm.
So he called me to come and scratch his big toe.
Mm.
I'm a child. I can't say no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I started scratching the toe. And I wasn't scratching in the right spot.
Mm-hmm.
He got upset with me and he whipped me to the point that this arm was swole up and they couldn't take me to the doctor because they couldn't want to know it was child abuse.
Yeah.
So I just had to suffer through it. That was my worst memory of my dad. Because they believed in whippings. They didn't care. They didn't care.
Mississippi, I get it. Like,
My mother would whip me with whatever she didn't make us go get the switch.
Wow.
But she would use brooms. She would use the extension cord. That was worse than the belt.
Yeah.
My father, that's how he got my arm to swell up, because he hit me with the belt instead of the extension cord. But it was like, I was in such pain, my mother had to say, stop. Okay, something's wrong. And then they looked at it and it was like this high. It was like, all because I couldn't scratch the end of your toe. So where do you think the end of the toe is? Because I thought it was at the end of the nail. It's not. It's at where the nail starts. I'm like, what, 9, 10, 11?
Yeah.
Really? Who knows that?
Yeah.
And why am I being punished for it? That's not right. We had an interesting childhood.
Yeah.
Kids having kids.
Yeah.
Yep, kids having kids is exactly what that was. So.
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing about being a child?
I guess being a baby, but I don't think I got any special treatment. I mean, when my father and mother both got disabled, I was 10. I was writing letters to Social Security because my father had a high school education, and after he got disabled, he actually went to Southwest and got his AA degree. But they got, I don't know, I don't remember.
Well, Alan got a degree.
And I know their occupations because I had to write them on so many forms. My father was a recapper. Like, what is a tire recapper? He fixed flats for Firestone.
Oh man.
Oh.
I'm trying to put it all together. Like, these are like young African Americans from Meridian, Mississippi, worst education in the entire country.
Right.
Third grade education, high school education, coming to LA, figuring it out. And just doing it.
And doing it, yeah. So
had a real nice place on the west side.
They did.
So they moving on up. You know what I mean? Moving on up, doing their thing. Oh, okay. Recapper and a maid. Wow.
Yep.
Family, man. That's beautiful.
But because Social Security denied them so many times is why I started writing letters.
So what did you like about being the baby though?
Nothing.
So then what was your favorite thing? Come on, take your time, Darlene. This is forever.
I was always called the baby and or big nose. I didn't get any special treatment. I really didn't.
So you didn't like being a child. You didn't like your childhood.
I can't say I didn't like it. It's just nothing sticks out because it was, I'll put it like this. The way I was raised, I did not want to raise my children that way.
Okay.
I didn't want to have to beat them to do something. I mean, we got whipped for just the smallest of things. Back in that day, jelly jars had funny faces on them, like Flintstone characters, stuff like that. They were like dirt cheap. If we broke one, we got to whoop it. You go to the store and get another one. They're dirt cheap. They were less than 50 cents a jar. So
So when you were 10 years, you was in the 5th grade, 10 years old, both of your parents were disabled and they could not work when you were 10. And you were like essentially taking care of them a bit.
We were all taking care of because my mother.
Because like they could not work and you're like 10 and you're like literate. So you're like writing letters and fascinating. That's a fascinating. I see this. Huh. So they're like home written, both of your parents.
Yeah, they were.
Church and home.
Yeah, well, Dad didn't go to church. My father stepped foot in that church maybe twice.
So he just was bedridden.
No, he wasn't bedridden. He just didn't like church.
I mean, but physically, he wasn't able to work.
He couldn't work, but he eventually got to where he could walk and drive again.
Okay.
Whereas my mother couldn't drive anymore.
So they were just getting like unemployment or
no, they were getting Social
Security,
Security, disability.
But they were denied for whatever reason.
Social Security back in that day, they wanted you to prove beyond God that you were totally disabled. They didn't believe people, and there was a lot of people scamming the system. But they had all their doctors' reports. I mean, my father's disease, we had never even heard of it. I still don't think anybody's ever, dermatitis, bursitis, something like that.
To this day, you haven't heard another person have it.
He broke out in all these rashes, and it took his muscle mass away. He lost weight. Yeah, it was just crazy. Yeah, it was crazy, and the VA didn't know what to do for it because they had never had anybody that had it.
Passed from?
No, he actually had a heart attack and how he died.
Wow.
Wow. And then my father, every year, he went back to Mississippi for his summer vacation.
Oh, really?
So I don't know if you're going to ask this question. Neither one of my parents came to my high school graduation. And I graduated with honors because Alan was going to, and I don't want to put my business out there. I call him Alan, even though he's my natural father, because that is what my sisters and brothers called him, because their father was not him. And my mother wouldn't let them call him daddy. So they called him by Alan. And because I was the youngest, I did what my brothers and sisters did, called him Alan. And even when I got older, I said, why am I calling you Alan? Why don't I call you daddy? He says, you call me daddy. It just never took. Because all my life I called him Alan. And here I am talking about him now, and I'm calling him Alan instead of saying daddy.
So, next question. You gotta give me one of your what you like about childhood. Something, Darlene.
I like that they got us a dog. Chimp was our dog.
Oh,
they got him for me.
Oh, that's so cool.
What dog was it?
I don't know.
His dog.
He was a black and white dog. He was probably a mutt. I don't know. But they got a dog, and they let me name him. Had to be like 10 or 11.
That's so cool.
Oh,
that was cool.
Damn.
Did you say you wanted a dog? Oh, that's sweet.
That's so cool.
Well, I'm glad I can make y'all smile. Everything else is depressing.
This next question is, what was the most stressful thing about your child? I'm like,
we've covered that.
We just So I get it. The most stressful thing was what specifically? What was the most stressful thing about childhood?
Having your parents not be able to do what they did when you were younger. I mean, I remember my father used to take us to the movies. My brother never wanted to go, but he would take me, Joanne, and Yvette to the movies downtown. We go in one movie because they were dirt cheap, like less than $1 to get in. We go to one movie, we go eat, we go to another movie. And we would do that on a Saturday. He would take us to the beach. My mother never could swim, so she never wanted to go to the beach. And my mother would also get in the ocean and stuff. Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah. My mother, they loved Clifton's Cafeteria was their favorite place to eat. So if we all went as a family to the movies, we would have dinner at Clifton's Cafeteria. And at Clifton's, you get to pick your own food. I'll give me that. Oh, I want that. It was back in the day. It was the bomb. It was like a hometown buffet. It was. It was the first buffet, if you will. And we loved it. My father was. My mother could dance. My father couldn't dance, but he loved music. They both loved music. So that was always fun because they would ask us to dance and we'd pretend like we knew what we was doing and we would dance. We had good family fun. I will say that. Now, the way that 4th Avenue house is set up, the bedroom is the first thing right off the living room. And that was their bedroom. So before we got our own TVs, we all watched TV in my parents' bedroom. We'd sit on the floor, and before they came out with remote control, who was the remote control? The children. And who was the youngest one? Turn it to the, okay, get up, turn the TV. Oh, I don't want to see that, turn that, okay. So, like I said, there were no perks to being the baby, like there should have been perks to being the baby. I don't think there were any perks.
What was your first job?
My first job was I worked at my junior high school, Horseman Junior High School, in the office. Oh, you were the We went to horseman. We all went to horseman.
Wow, Bean went to horseman. We went to Henry Clay.
Bean went to horseman?
Bean went to horseman.
I did not know that.
Bean went to horseman.
Yeah.
I'm a child with the horseman.
Did she?
Yeah, my cousin.
Really?
Yeah.
She went to high school in Alabama, right?
No, she went to high school in the Valley Bravo.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
She went to elementary in Alabama.
She did have some
Yeah,
elementary.
I'm in the story.
in Alabama.
Yeah, her coming of age.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, we used to walk the horseman, which is not close to where we lived.
Oh,
Just
shit.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a
That's
lot.
a wow.
We walked
Damn.
even when it was raining. We walked the horseman.
That's essentially like
Yeah,
Jan
from
Ams
Fourth
and
Ave.
Slauson, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So, damn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Y'all.
And we
Y'all
took
was
a shortcut. We took a we took a shortcut down this. It was almost like an alleyway. I don't know where that is anymore, but that is where we used to buy what they called moon pies. This bakery made
I heard
them
about
fresh.
There's an ice cream, right?
No,
No, they got like marshmallow or something in the middle.
it's
Like
chocolate.
oatmeal cookie. Oh,
It's not a
chocolate.
cookie. It's
Yeah.
like a wafer or something.
Yeah.
Two chocolate, whatever, is stuffed with marshmallow cream, and they would sell them for $1, and we would at least get $1, and we would make sure we go by there and walk home and have a moon pie. Horseman was fun. I liked horseman, so that was my first job. Then at Crenshaw,
And what did you do there?
I just filed, made copies, did some
They
typing.
paid you
It was work summer thing.
to? Okay.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
How young were you?
14, 13, 14.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Wow. Huh. That's cool to know.
And then my next job after that, we worked. By then, my mother had gotten saved, so we were now in the church. At the church we went to, my mother was on the what they would call the pastor's aid committee. So they do all the serving, and Bishop McMurray, who was our pastor, came to our house all the time. He loved my mother's cooking. He would come there. It's like, it's Sunday. Don't you have a wife, that family that cooks? He would come on Sundays and eat Sunday dinners with us. My father didn't like him, but neither here nor there.
I get it.
Anyway,
You
right?
wasn't going to that church?
Right? He wouldn't go in there. Why this man always got? And she would serve him first. Anyway.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah. I wouldn't do that. You're right. I'm gonna serve my husband first. He's the head of the house.
Love you, nigga.
I think, right? So as a result, she put us in every auxiliary that the youth could be in. And so they had a junior pastor's aid. So we were in that. And then one of the ladies that was in her pastor's aid was a caterer. And me and my Joanne didn't do it, but me and Yvette worked for her on the weekends. And she catered Jewish parties mostly, so all white people.
That's cool.
We went to Sammy Davis Jr. house, was our second event that we had to cater. So I worked as a saint. She paid us decent, you know. We were 16, 17, no, 15, 16.
I think I know this answer too. What was your favorite job?
My favorite job would probably be the one in Alaska.
Really?
Why did you think that? What did you think?
I don't know. I knew it was going to be in the human resources.
Oh, yeah.
You were like such a huge fan of that career.
I'm still a huge fan.
But
they really, you know, sometimes in corporate America, because people wasn't woke yet, I was training people to get promoted and they didn't promote me. And I, at the time, didn't have my bachelor's. I only had my associates, but I would literally train someone who was white, blonde, and blue-eyed, and she didn't know any more than I did, and she got the promotion and I didn't. So
in human resources. Her promotion was in human resources.
Yes, it was. And she was.
But did she have did the people that you were training have bachelor's degrees?
Some did, some didn't. Oh no, I'm serious as a heart attack. I couldn't. I went to work every day on time, before time. I stayed late. Oh, back then I was like, okay, whatever. I wasn't really thinking it was because of the black-white thing. But as I got older, I started to see it was truly because of the black-white thing.
Before too.
Damn.
And it is what it is. But I said, I'm going to get my degree.
But that's still her favorite job. That's so complex.
And
That's
I make
amazing.
sure that anywhere I go, I want to make sure that there is equity. No, you can't promote her, and this one's got more time. And just because she doesn't have a degree, she's got the time in. The people love her. Management is so an interesting vessel. It's all about politics, but it's also all about who you know. And that's sad because it shouldn't be about who you know. It should be about the caliber of your work and your substance. So even though I liked the job in Alaska, when I first got there, first of all, I was supposed to be there for 90 days. I was hired as a temp. I was a temp employee relations manager. And at this time, I didn't know if I wanted to live in Alaska, so that was fine with me. They were going to pay for my housing. They paid for my flight, paid for transportation.
I remember when I heard you was going, I was like,
paying for food. I was like, okay, 90 days, and I get to see Alaska for free. That's how I looked at it. And Gilbert and I talked about it, and he was traveling for his job a lot. So we could do this, 90 days, yeah. So the day I got there, had never had an interview with the people. I met with the HR director.
You were in Yuma, Anchorage.
I was in neither. I was in Bethel. Yes, town you never heard of. Exactly.
Look
that up. 6,000 people.
Ooh.
That's a small number when you come from LA.
Everybody know everybody.
They knew who I was when I got off the plane.
Oh, they knew you were coming.
They knew I was. They knew when I got hired at the job and where I worked. They knew my car I drove. They knew what I did for a living. They knew the company I worked for. It was like
everybody worked for that company.
It was the biggest employer in town. And it's 6,000 people that are all either connected and are related to each other.
What would they do? Oil or something?
No, it was a hospital. It was a Native American hospital. So they got all their hospital services free. You know.
Sense, huh?
But so I got there on a Thursday.
But who owns it?
Native Americans own it.
Oh,
it's private.
It's privately owned.
Okay.
So you had to be Native American because when I got sick, I couldn't go there.
Oh.
Yeah. It was for Native Americans. Everything was paid for us by us. That's exactly right.
I love it.
So she interviewed me and she said, well, I love you so much. And she was white. I want to offer you the job right here on the spot, but I'm going to need a 2-year commitment. And I'm like, well, I have to discuss that over with my significant other. You know, she said, okay, but let me know as soon as you can. So like I said, I got there. I started that Thursday, worked Friday. Gilbert and I talked about it. 2 years. And I didn't know anything about the town. So I had no idea what I was getting into because I've never lived outside the state of California. And this is also a great learning experience for me.
Maybe you wanted to travel.
Right. So we talked about it. He said, yeah, we can give her a 2-year commitment. However, I signed the paperwork. She gave me what I was asking for. Loved my job. The people love Black people. There wasn't a lot of us there. Maybe out of that 6,000, maybe 200 of us, maybe. In the 6 years, it might have got up to 300.
Was it mostly Native American?
Mostly Native American.
That's so cool.
Not a lot of white people, and they don't like white people.
That is a fascinating.
They do not like white people. They are like, who she thinks she is, just because she white.
So you know, like the culture of Native Americans, then, huh?
Oh, I've eaten some of everything. Anyway, so they love me.
Wow.
So my boss, a year in, decides she wants to quit. A year into my 2-year contract. And I'm like, but you told me I had to give you 2 years. You not even, well, I got this great offer. She was a wonderful lady. She still is. I talked to her actually last week. She was strategically great. Common sense and forethought, not so much. She kind of knew HR, but she didn't know it like I mean, when I immersed myself into HR, I'm learning every function, because there's a lot of functions of HR and people don't realize that it's not just hiring and firing. You got benefits, you got workers' comp, you got safety, you got risk. There's a lot of functions.
I learned that. When I was trying to do it, I'm like,
right? It's a lot of functions.
Multidisciplinary in the mud. Like,
and so I think she was offended because I would have vice presidents she put me in the old employee relations manager office, and it was a long hallway, you know, office here, office here, office here, office here. Then it was a cubicle area, and then her office was all the way at the end. And the office next to her was the training director, who was Native American and couldn't stand her. And so she would walk down the hall to come to my office, and every time she walked down there, she would see a manager leaving because I was employee relations. So, duh,
they got to deal with you.
They got to deal with me. And she got offended by that. So she moved my office next to her office. So she could see who was coming and going, right? And so one of the VPs, who I'm still friends with to this day, she's Asian American, Jane, she would come in my office all the time because she was over the hospital. So all the services under the hospital, she was the VP of. And she loved the fact that I would tell her what's going on and give her advice on where she should go, what we should do. And my boss, Carla, didn't like that. And so Carla came to me, she saw her leave one day, she said, why does she keep coming to your office? I said, well, she's got a lot of employee relations issues. Why? Well, I just don't understand. She walks right by my office, she doesn't even speak. And when I spoke to her last week, she said, I don't know why Jane doesn't like me. And I'm thinking she didn't like you because everybody didn't like you. They didn't like that you called yourself the director, but you wasn't acting as a director. And they loved me. So when she decided to leave, my vice president, who also loved me, Native American, he was our legal counsel, he was our head attorney. And because I did employee relations, I had to get everything cleared through him to make sure I was according to policy and practice and wasn't setting any precedents and everything was on the up and up. So as soon as she gave her her resignation, he said, I'm promoted to the director. You want that, right? It's like, yeah, sure, why not? Well, I'm gonna say no. And he promoted me to director, and then thank you. Then the president of the company, who was also Native American, they're not going to put a non-Native American over a Native hospital. He had to retire. The board forced him out. I helped do that, unfortunately. I got him a good deal though. And then my vice president became the president, and he made me a VP. So that's why I'm saying I loved my time in Alaska. Yes.
How long did you end up being there?
90 days turned into 6 years. 90 days. What happened in 90 days? And the only reason I left that job is because Gilbert had the pacemaker and he couldn't drive anymore. They told him he couldn't drive. And he said, I need you to come home. I said, okay. Because I'd have still been there. The weather sucked. My first winter was negative 55.
My first winter in Chicago.
The food sucked.
He said negative 55.
Negative 55. Yeah, not just 55. Negative 55.
I feel like
I remember when I was in negative like 10 and 15 when I was in Chicago, and I was like, after negative like 7, it should just stay cold as fuck.
Negative 55. You go outside, and it was just brutal. And I ended up turning into a snowbank, and these Native Americans helped dig my car out.
Wow.
They didn't even know me, and I thought, if you stop on the freeway on the 405, see how many people pass you by. They're not gonna stop and help you. They not, even if they see that you're a woman, they're not gonna do that. They came and first winter, and it was brutal. And the town had nothing to do. There was no movie theater. There were no gyms. There were no real restaurants. You had to literally fly to Anchorage to get a decent restaurant.
That's what Little does all the time.
Really?
She flies.
She's there now, right?
She flies from different places.
Where's she at?
So she's in.
She went for work.
God, I believe she was in Anchorage. No, she was in somewhere.
No,
it's not.
She was in
She's in Nome. Yeah, because Anchorage is a big city.
Yeah,
and I could have stayed in Anchorage. Anchorage is like here. You know, you get make. I couldn't find somebody to do my hair. I had to fly to Anchorage to get my hair done.
That's awesome. But don't you fly for free?
No.
Huh. Oh no, that's because she works for TSA.
Oh. Duh.
Oh, she works at TSA?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she flies free.
She's from LA.
But she flies free, yeah. I got a lot of Alaska Air miles.
Yeah.
But that hour flight, it's only an hour.
Yeah.
It's $400.
You know that makes,
Shut your
that
mouth.
makes sense. Wait, hold up. The mascot for the Alaska Airlines is a Native American.
Mm-hmm.
I just hit me right now.
Mm-hmm.
$400.
$400. That was back then. That was in what, 2011.
It's like
An hour flight. So luckily, a lot of times I went for my job. I had meetings in Anchorage.
Yeah.
So every time I went, I made sure found me a
Okay.
stylist and I got my hair done.
Okay.
To buy real clothes, you
Yeah.
got to go to Anchorage.
This next question kind of flows. It may flow with it. Who knows? We're gonna find out about you, Auntie Darlene. So tell us about a time where you felt the most powerful.
Probably as a VP.
I was thinking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Elaborate.
And it's not because of the title per se as much
Sure.
as it was the respect. And I had made a name for myself as the employee relations manager. Like I said, every director, every manager, every VP loved me. And I'm grateful for that. And I know that's not me. It's just God gave me favor with those people. But you can, do some things and people, because it was such a small community, like for Nurses Day, I'm the one who came up with, we're gonna do something. We're gonna celebrate nurses all week. And we did an episode of Chopped. We filmed our own Chopped, and I was the only VP that even showed up. And I'm like, and we would have our VP meetings every week. And I'm like, you guys, they need to see us out there.
Yeah.
Management can't be this, I can't touch you people.
Yeah.
That's not management.
Yeah.
People don't adhere to you
Like the
if you're not, it's not there. You've got to make it there. You've got to have that. You shouldn't have a baby and your manager not tell you, oh, congratulations, or buy you a present. That should not be.
Yeah.
Your managers, you spend more time at work than you do with your actual own family.
Yeah.
You should know your people. You should know what they're good at, what they're bad at. And I was teaching them, you've got to be able to say to your employee, Walter, I really like you. Let me tell you what your strengths are. I like because you're intelligent, you're articulate, you're personable, but you've got to work on your timing. Or you don't meet your timetables well, or whatever. But they will remember that. I have fired people who have called me and thanked me for firing them. Because I'm gonna make sure that you understand. Look, I don't want you to.
That's awesome.
You can't go to the next job and do this. I want you to take something from this.
So
don't look at this as your life is over. You will get another job. It's okay. Just don't do this again. And that's why I love the field of HR, because I am helping people get a job, keep a job, stay in a job. I don't want to have to fire you if I don't have to. Now, when you give me no choice, they say don't smoke and you sit up here smoking. I work for an aviation company. We have you on tape going through people's bags. That's not me. Come here. Is that you? Well, see not what had happened was, I can't keep you here. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And he was upset, but he got over it, because right is right and wrong is wrong. But people are people, and we thrive on people respecting each other. And a lot of managers don't understand that. They think you go over there and do that. You pick up this. That's not your job. Your job is to mentor and develop, because that person, you were that person 10 years ago, you was in management. You were that person. Don't be that person. Be better than that person.
Do you still feel powerful?
I gotta say no, only because I have never been out of work per se, like as long as I've been out of work. That bothers me. It's like I have an education. I'm a good person. I'm gonna work so hard for any company. I don't work 5 days a week. I've always worked 6 or 7 days a week. That's just who I am. So it takes my power away.
Thanks for being so vulnerable with us. Thank you for sharing.
Like to think I'm strong. I know I'm strong. I know I'm strong. I know I'm a strong woman. I don't know why God has had me go through the test I've gone through, but I know I'm a better person for it.
Yeah.
He's not my dog.
Thank you, Auntie Darlene. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you guys for asking and for listening.
Yes.
What was your first, if you can recall, your first traveling experience like a big travel or
as an adult?
Period. What was your first traveling?
That Mississippi trip was the worst trip I've ever had in my life. It was bad.
That was the first time you had,
You told us
Gotcha.
about this before when we were at the funeral,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, that's
Mhm.
right.
Could you
That's right.
share?
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I was
What
10.
was it
We
like?
drove to
Where'd you
Mississippi.
go?
We went to Meridian.
Mhm.
We stayed with my father's parents. God,
Oh snap! So
Yeah.
it wasn't like grandma people. It was Alan's.
it was Alan's people. Yeah,
Awesome,
it's my
awesome.
father's parents, and that was the first time we had met them. And they were nice people. They weren't the cleanest of people, but they were nice. So my mother made us clean the house as soon as we got there because
Really?
it was that bad. It was really.
Now
it was really
Meridian,
bad.
I've never been at. Is it like city or
Yes,
is it kind of country?
it's a little combo.
Okay.
It's a combo because they had paved roads. They did, but it was still country because we could walk to Dairy Queen. That was my first time even hearing of a Dairy Queen. We walked to a Dairy Queen. But they lived on a little street it had traffic, but it was not a lot of traffic. So what made the trip horrendous, our grandparents were not very loving. They weren't like so happy to see us and grandma's gonna hug you. They hugged us the first time and they didn't have, it's not like we sat and had a conversation, tell me about yourself, granddaughter. There was none of that. I don't remember any of that.
It wasn't very personable.
At all. So you want me to tell the story again?
Grandparents' names? Yeah, I mean just for the archives.
I want to say.
I remember what happened. I remember it was the racial stuff. I remember, but just for the archives.
Okay. I don't. My grandfather's name. I want to say Willie.
Willie Dancer, huh?
I think it was Willie. I can't remember my grandmother's name. She was not personable at all. I mean.
What did you refer to him and her? I know you referred to your dad as Alan.
Yeah.
What did you refer to your grandparents?
Probably grandma, because probably my mom or my dad made us call him grandma and granddad.
Granddad?
Grandpa?
Mm-hmm. You just, I don't know.
Now that you say it, I don't even remember what we called him.
Right.
I know we didn't care for it. I mean, I didn't care for it.
Sure.
My brother, I don't want to say they didn't actually. And maybe that's why they weren't as loving with me and my sister, who were their legitimate grandchildren. Sure. Because Punky and Joanne weren't.
Right.
So I don't remember my grandfather taking him off and having a man-to-man conversation with him. I don't remember.
It was you and Yvette.
Yeah, it's just me and Yvette. So, other than that, we didn't do anything. The one trip that I'm going to tell you about in a minute, that was the only. It wasn't like there wasn't anything to do.
Right.
I don't even remember if we ever went to the grocery store, but I know we must have because my mother cooked because she didn't want to eat.
So funny.
Her mother-in-law's cooking.
Mommy told the same story about her first traveling experience. She told this story.
Because that's the first time we ever went anywhere. We had never had a family vacation before, so that was the first and only trip.
Oh, that's when I got in that car and drove. Oh,
the first and only trip.
Yeah. Oh,
we never went anywhere after that.
Yeah.
I mean, we had never gone to San Diego.
Wow.
We had never gone to Vegas.
Yeah.
My mom probably would have gambled.
No Big Bear, no Lake Arrowhead.
None of that. Yeah. I didn't see anything as a child. I didn't see all that till I became an adult.
Wow.
But my grandfather had to go to Bay Springs, Mississippi for a doctor's appointment. I don't know what was wrong with him. I can't remember.
Sure.
I don't know if my father he had two brothers. One was Uncle John because he was mentally retarded. And for some reason, when my father moved here to California from Mississippi, he came with him.
John.
I think it's John. I'm sorry, my memory isn't what it used to be.
Yeah.
But I remember he was slow because my father told us he was slow. He called it slow. He didn't say mentally retarded. He was slow. Yeah. But he got Social Security because he was slow.
Okay.
But he was also an alcoholic. And so a lot of times my father would go and find a place for him to live, and he would take his Social Security check and pay the rent so that my uncle would have somewhere to sleep.
Real quick. Does the acronym SSI stands for Social Security Insurance?
Social Security, yeah. I guess the I is in
That
but that's a sign.
just hit me right now.
Yep.
Like now. And I was like,
yes.
oh,
That's what that's for. Yeah. But a lot of times he would go and he paid for in places, not in great places. I know a couple of times he lived downtown.
And this is Uncle
John. I think that.
What?
I think it's Uncle John.
I didn't know that.
He would go to his place to check on him. Like he went like twice or 3 times a week to go check on him, make sure he was okay.
Was it like a convalescent home?
No, it was a regular apartment. It was just the cheap dirt bag apartments.
Oh, okay.
And he would find him on the streets because he had drank and got himself so drunk he couldn't remember where he lived and he couldn't remember. And he did that for years. He lived like that for years. My father did that for years, taking care of him.
His brother.
Until he died. And I don't remember how he died or why he died, but I'm sure it
Did
had something to do
with
with
have kids?
Never.
Oh, God,
never.
Out there.
Out there.
Huh. I've never heard of him.
Because Joanne should remember him. I remember him, so Joanne remembers him. She can maybe tell you what his name. I think it was John, but he had another brother and a younger sister in Mississippi that we met when we were there, but they were grown, or they weren't at the house. Were they at the house?
They were like Auntie Annie's age.
Mm-hmm. Maybe not quite that old. I can't remember because we all slept in one bed. I remember.
Damn.
Exactly.
So
all the kids slept in one bed.
It was like Mommy, Punky, you, and
Yvette in one bed.
Before you got
in one bed. In one bed.
I remember you was young. I remember young.
Was that fun?
No.
Oh man, that was fun to me as a kid.
It was to me. Yeah, and all the people.
Like feet.
Yeah.
Well, see, because they had critters.
Oh, okay.
They also
that definitely will change the situation.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah, because you did
envisioning stuff going on.
I mean, it was bad. It was bad. They had them in the refrigerator, and we grew up with a woman who was a maid. So this was. We were literally in bed shaking. We didn't want to see something crawling on us.
Was traumatized.
It was. So
That's funny that it goes into this next one because that fascinating was a traumatizing, sound like a wild experience. Do you enjoy traveling is the next question.
I do.
And I remember Carl, you wanted to be a stewardess as well. Elaborate. You enjoy traveling.
I just always wanted to see the world. Again, my parents was not on their agenda. My mother, once she became a Christian, she wanted to go to Jerusalem. That was the only thing she wanted to do. But other than that, they never wanted to see another state or another city. I mean, when we drove to Mississippi, I feel like that. They never went anywhere. My father went back to Mississippi every year. There's other states besides Mississippi, people. Every year. For years. Yeah. Not just a year, a couple of years. Years. Wow.
Very close to Meridian, man. That's crazy.
I've always wanted to travel. I think traveling opens you up. And that was a big part of my Alaska lesson. It lets you know.
Whoever lived around Native Americans, right. I remember Dave had a skit like, who feeds these motherfuckers? Like, have you seen anything ever? And I was like, no. She asked. She went. Her and Jackson. They went to the. But before that, have you ever seen the Native Americans just out in the streets?
I don't like when you say loose.
I'm sorry.
Native Americans.
Right.
Like just out there.
No, not that I can remember.
No, I don't remember seeing Native Americans.
Not before that.
She went to the Heartland. They have this pipeline that was anything with Native Americans.
In North Dakota.
Yeah.
Like it was intense.
Yeah.
Native Americans.
They're, you got to respect them though.
Oh my God.
Every one of them, from a young child, they know their culture.
Yes.
They know what they know that. Yes.
And it's rich. It's like
very
you
rich.
Feel it.
Yeah.
Because there's so much passion. They're teaching the they had like a woman gave birth like a day or two before we got there, right where they were like set up and stuff. So all of that
they
stuff.
still do that, yeah.
and she was like chilling.
Yeah, like what?
She was like right there.
I can live with the baby. What?
With
the baby's
baby.
fine. What do you want me to do?
Incredible.
Amen.
Incredible.
So yeah, I've always wanted to travel. There's still a lot of places. I've never been to Europe. I want to go to Europe. I want to go to Australia.
Oh,
That's awesome.
I want to go to Africa.
Could we take question 18, baby?
Yes.
I have to make this call.
Yes, I want to know some other places. This ain't on here, but please. I want to know. Yes, please name some places that you would like to go. Just for, you said Europe, you said Australia.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I want to go to Germany. I want to go to Switzerland. I want to go to Ireland. I've been interested in wanting to see Ireland all of a sudden. Then I want to go to Africa. I want to go to Egypt. I want to go to Jerusalem. I want to see the different seas. What is it? It's not the Bering Sea and those types of places. In Africa, I want to go to where they sold slaves. I want to see that because I hear that it's such a moving experience to witness. I haven't been to every state. I haven't been to there's some states I haven't been to. I've been to Canada. Yeah. I went to Canada a couple of years ago with my church, believe it or not.
So what's, out of all the places that you have been to, what's been your favorite place outside of home? Some places you like, I want to come back here, and
I would like to go back to Chicago. I like the vibe of Chicago. I've been to New York a few times. I like New York. I don't like a lot of the people. It is kind of rude, unfortunately, but I understand where they get it from. But I haven't seen all the boroughs. I've only been to New York. I've been to Manhattan. I've been to Long Island. I've been to Queens, and I've been to the Bronx. There's one more that I haven't, because it's like 5 boroughs. Because my first husband was from New York, and he lived in the Bronx. So of course I went there, and we went. I saw the Statue of Liberty. So, and there's some seafood city that you have to take a ferry to. We went there. I like New York. It's great for shopping and just stuff to do. Fan-freaking-tastic. But I would love to go explore more in Chicago. I only went to, I want to say, one of the main cities, and I didn't, explore outside of there, but I like the vibe. I thought the people were really cool. They were telling us places of where we should go. I mean,
sounds like a place that you could live.
Yeah, I could live there.
Awesome.
I could live in Chicago.
Yeah, you lived in Alaska with that.
I live anywhere.
You'd be like, yes, that's what it sounds like. Hey. The only gripe I had about Chicago was the weather.
Yeah, the weather is not great because we're not from that. And that was what it was hard.
It hit me. I was like, I have options. I was like subjecting myself to that. I'm like, man. Hey.
Let me tell you this funny story in Alaska. So they kept telling me, Darlene, when it starts to snow, you just got to make sure your car is plugged in.
Okay. What does that mean?
That's what I said. So every time they said to him,
you guys
hold on. I just ignored it. So one day I get up 4 o'clock in the morning, and I get to work at 5. I start my car and it doesn't turn. I'm like, what the? And I know there's gas in it. So I caught a cab to work because I could have walked. It was just too cold because I worked that close to the hospital. And I got to work, and my whole team came in. Where's your car? Because I park in the same spot every day, and they know I'm the first one here. Blah blah blah. I said my car wouldn't start, and they say, "Did you plug it up? What are you talking about? Why do y'all keep saying plug it up?" Oh my God. So at lunch, they drove me to my house, and they said, look at your house. I was renting this 1-bedroom house, and at the top of near the roof is a plug. And on the front of the car is a plug. So you get an extension on the front of the grill is a plug. And I never paid attention because I bought the car used. Huh?
Are those in all cars or just in Alaska?
Just in Alaska.
Fuck out of here.
So they said, Darlene, so they plugged my car in, car started right up. They said, you've got to plug it in at night so it'll be ready for in the morning.
What kind of car was it?
It was a little SUV. I was like, what do you mean you plug this up at night? It's a car. It runs on gas.
You know,
No, in Alaska, the batteries freeze. They do have winter blankets around them, but you still have to plug your car in.
you know, when I was in Chicago living, working, like I've heard of them, like goulashes, I think they're called or whatever. I can't remember. I always call them shoe condoms. But it's like you put like rubber on your shoe, and it looked terrible. But I had, I was making okay money, so I had I had these fancy ones or whatever. It just looked a little decent. I had a little bag that came in, whatever. But it's like I still got them, just like where it's there. Like you put these up your dress shoes because I didn't know
that you had
regular
real
shoes, whatever,
shoes,
and like salt that they put
Right.
in get into the leather and it just ruined them. I had these really nice shoes, man. They were just ruined from salt damage. And I got some more and got the little shoe cons, whatever, which is so weird. I'm like, what is that? And it was so much other stuff. And then I didn't know like it was a valuable thing to have covered parking.
Oh yeah.
Because obviously snow.
Right.
And I was like, what is that thing? And then I didn't know that I was renting an apartment. The parking lots in Chicago are not owned by your apartment. So you can like lease your apartment. That's all good. You have a whole nother negotiation and reaching out to people. You can pay for parking at a different location.
Wow.
And it's totally different.
Really?
It's separate people. I'm
I
like,
didn't know that. What is this?
it just was a whole different community, a different world. I'm like, this is fascinating. Yeah, really, really fascinating.
What kind of student would you say you were?
I was unfortunately the goody two shoes.
Oh, why are you saying unfortunate?
Because you it's not like you're popular. You don't do anything. You do everything right. The teacher loves you. Your teacher's pet in every class.
This is insightful.
Even in junior high and high school, I was the perfect student. I got basically straight A's, some B's every now and then. There was no reason for my parents to show up for family day because they all gonna sing my praises.
Because depending on where you're growing up, that is a positive or a negative thing.
Yeah. It wasn't cool. I mean, but it is what it is. And when I got to high school, it didn't change. I mean, oh, there's Darlene. Yeah, she's a smart one.
What was your highest formal education reached?
Bachelor's degree.
And
business, admin, core HR.
That's so awesome. I have a BA in business administration as well.
Boom.
There it is.
Yeah.
Family.
Hey, great minds think alike.
What are your spiritual beliefs?
I believe that there is a God who came down to heaven per the Father and who died on the cross so that we wouldn't have to live what he lived in flesh. And I believe that it is the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. I believe that God doesn't punish us. And I say that now, but when I found out when Gilbert passed, I was like, God, why am I? What did I do so wrong that I lose 2 husbands in one lifetime? I couldn't grasp that. That was hard for me, but I know God did it for a reason. And I had to accept that. But it was still hard for my mind to accept. But I know he's blessed me and he's continually blessing me. And to see your mother drink every day. And my mother wasn't a trashy drunk or anything like that. She still kept her house. She still cooked and cleaned. She still, she doted on on my father as best she could. And to see her turn around because she drank every day. I mean, she would send us with notes to go to the corner store to get her liquor and her day's work, her tobacco. And they got to know who we were, but we still had to have that note so we can do that. I remember that. And to see her turn that, I mean, never once she got saved, it wasn't a week later. She never took another drink, never chewed another piece of tobacco in her life until she died. That was like, okay, that's a God. Wow. That has to be God to make her have that kind of determination. So.
Itch. What are your views on Black Lives Matter?
I like Black Lives Matter. I think it's overdue. Again, being the age that I am and having seen racism straight in front of me. it's sad that you have to see it on TV to understand what we've been saying for years. I mean, Rodney King was beat up killed in 1992, not killed, but he was beat up in 1992. Y'all didn't believe it then, and they showed it on the news. But because of George Floyd, thank God, but now you understand what we're saying. This was in 92, and it was happening before that. I remember they stopped my brother all the time for no reason at all. For no reason. It wasn't that they weren't even sagging back in that day. This is in the 70s. They weren't sagging. What are you stopping him for? Because he's black. I mean, I don't know if Joanne remembers, but I remember when they came and they busted down our front door looking for my brother. Police came in, busted. I remember that vividly. Never apologized for it, never paid for the door to get repaired. They busted down the door. And my brother wasn't home then. Off the hinges. Yeah. And you know, my mother and father slept in the first room. So they were like, and we were in the back room, we were screaming, what's going on? And Punky wasn't there that night. I don't remember where it was, but it's just the idea.
Alethea experienced something similar with her brothers as well. Damn. So, did you participate in the protests at all? Did you?
No, I've never participated, and I can't tell you why. I remember when.
Did you want to?
I kind of wanted to. I think I was a little scared. I remember when. See, like the Kings in '92. That was '92 when they were they were pulling people out of trucks and stuff. That was here in LA, right? My husband, my first husband, the boy's father, was going to college for his job.
Keith,
out, right? Yeah, Keith. Way out, and I had to go pick him up from class, and I was scared to death because I had to take the boys with me because I couldn't. They were too young.
You told us the story. I trust
Yeah. And I had to drive through all that going down Florence and was scared to death.
That was the heart of it.
It was the heart of it. Yes.
Florence and
but I never would have gotten out of my car. I was too scared. I don't know. Maybe I just think I'm too old to be out there, and I know that's not it. I just never wanted to do it. I don't know why. I can't tell you why, but I support them. I understand.
So cool.
As somebody who's lived through being called the N-word and just being discriminated against. I get it. I do. I get it.
Been consistent with all of our things. So everybody gets all right around here.
Yeah, because it shouldn't happen. Yeah. I had the Protection One guy came to my house yesterday, and he was an Asian guy.
That's the security system, right?
Yeah. And he's an Asian guy, and we were talking about something. And he said, why can't people just see people for people? I said, exactly. If I cut you right now, you're going to bleed red. And you cut me, I don't bleed red. He said, exactly. It doesn't matter about the color of the skin. It's people. God made us humans. We're supposed to have compassion and empathy for one another. He put that in us. So I don't care if you can't speak slang. What does that matter? Does that mean you're not black because you can't speak slang, or means you're black because you speak slang? This is ridiculous.
This will be an interesting answer because you're super corporate. Like, you obviously know what has been happening since George Floyd's situation. A lot of corporations are finally super sensitive. Like with our UBS thing that we did, which is so amazing, and we have like JP Morgan setting aside $200 million, all the other stuff, whatever. That may be a wrong number, maybe billion. I don't know. I can't remember the big ass number, but these corporations are making moves, and they've been establishing this diversity, equity, and inclusion DE&I initiatives across all these fields, including new provisions and stuff. What is your take on these corporations, these DEI initiatives with corporations?
Well, it's sad that they had to see this to do it.
Sure.
And again, that's one of the things why they love me in Alaska is because I'm like, you guys don't have a lot of everybody represented. They didn't have a lot of Asians. There wasn't very few Latinos. It was more African American in a minority category than they had anything because they were so focused on Alaska Native. But Alaska Natives don't teach people. They don't care if your child gets an education.
So they call themselves Alaska Natives.
Oh, they're Alaska Natives. Yeah,
fascinating.
They get paid for that.
Alaska Natives.
But they don't. They don't.
Reparation kind of thing.
Yeah. Every year. I got it when I was there. And everybody in their family. So Like I had one, my girlfriend,
Wait, it just
coworker,
keeps happening?
it keeps happening. It was her
Her
husband,
Native American somewhere in
and
there.
and 3 children. You get 10,000 for everybody in the house. Everybody, these kids
Every
ain't
year?
work every year. Every year.
But that's
So
why,
that's how they can afford their boats and their SUV. They get money from the government every
this is
year.
So I mean, it's on subject, but it's something that I heard or saw on something. Now, did you notice that like drug abuse was high?
Not drug abuse, alcoholism is horrendous.
I heard about that.
I was saying
Within
alcohol.
America?
Horrendous.
Yeah.
They would get so drunk. They would go out in the middle of winter, take off their clothes, and we would find them dead in the snow.
Geez.
Because something in their system does not mix well with it. And they know it, but that does not stop it, which is why we were a wet city. We did not sell alcohol. There was no restaurant of the few restaurants that were there.
Native Americans?
Yes.
It's their system. It is
Yes.
not,
Yes.
they just don't mix well with alcohol, but they do it anyway. It wasn't more drugs, it was alcohol, big time. But they could ship it in. You could have it shipped in because they would order it from Anchorage and they'd go to the airport and pick it up. But there is no place in the city that sold alcohol. None.
That is a fascinating thing.
Okay.
That's cool. What is your take on this is gonna be interesting. on
He said that for every question.
what do you think on Black Republicans?
You know, I know a couple that are Republicans. I don't understand, but I can't. The point of the United States of America, you have free choice. I mean, they actually voted for Trump both times. I'm like, okay, yeah. And they're she's half Black, half something, and she married somebody who's not Black, but they're both Trump supporters. I don't understand, but that's on you, because if I was a ghetto Black person, I think I would have tried to attempt to assassinate Trump. He's just that. He just did not do any. First of all, they need to give literacy tests to people in political offices. How do you not know you're the president of Puerto Rico? What I was like, we got to do a president. When he said it, I was like, wait a minute, we got to do president. When did that happen?
Oh my God!
I remember that part.
I just was like, but
That's funny.
I understand that they think
Gangster.
I totally forgot about that.
I understand that they think that they're gonna make the economy better. Nobody can make the economy better because it's still all in God's plan. Republicans that they're gonna make the economy better, but they don't care about poor people, regardless of your color. They don't care about poor people.
They believe that.
Wholeheartedly.
Wow.
The only reason Trump got in office is because of who he was. He wasn't a good businessman. He's not even as rich as everybody thinks he is, but his last name was Trump and he inherited money. And that's why they voted for him. Even the hicks in these, country hicks, they don't know anything about Trump, but they like the fact that he was white and he was going to get them more money. So they're going to vote for him.
I'm just formally asking this last question here, or whatever. What's your take on Trump? Just a formally.
Apparently, I don't care for him. I did not vote for him. I would have never voted for him. They could have shot me, and I'd have never voted for him. I don't think he was a good leader. I don't think he's intelligent, and I'm not saying intelligence should be at the top of the list, but it should be on the list. It should be on the list. I don't think he knew how to speak appropriately. I don't think he represented the United States and our interests appropriately. I mean, we were enemies of Russia for years and everybody was okay with that. And all of a sudden, because Putin paid you a compliment, you now want to be his best friend? Yeah. Well, what is that doing for us? Russia wanted to kill us. What is that doing for us? How are you making alliances with someone who was once our enemy? I don't get that. I don't get why you think. So you think climate change doesn't really exist? You think these tornadoes and all this stuff is happening back to back to back every single year in places that it didn't happen, and that's just supposed to be the way it is? Come on, you can't be that stupid, but yet you are. I just couldn't understand anything he did. You hated the fact that Barack was smarter than you, but mostly because he was Black and he was smarter than you. So you don't want to support the Affordable Care Act because Obama name was on it as Obamacare, and that wasn't what it was.
You were asking.
It's Affordable Care Act.
Support that.
Right.
What about Obamacare? Hell.
Like it's the same thing. You're stupid.
Because it's Obama. That's fascinating.
So I don't think he never made us look good. The way he treats women and minorities is disgusting. And you're the president. You're gonna sit here and say, well, you're from China. You know what I'm saying? What does that mean? He said that to one reporter. Yeah. The virus, your virus. It's the reason why we have people killing Asian people, because they think that has nothing to do with nothing. That is so far-fetched. And it's like, I'm not saying you got to have a degree, but this is common sense. Yeah. It wasn't like they went over there and they said, oh, we're going to come over here and send some people over to get them sick. They didn't know they had it either.
Curious to know this, and informally, what are your political beliefs?
I'm a Democrat, have been, because that's how I was raised. My parents voted Democrat. When I turned 18, I went down there and I voted Democrat.
That was the next question.
And I haven't strayed from it because I actually like their platform. I know that they have a heart. It isn't about you being Black or white. It isn't about you being rich or poor. It's about what's best for everyone, because everyone needs to succeed. We get in our Black culture, we have that crab in the barrel mentality. Oh, she lives in Ladera, so she thinks she all that. No, she just happened to get lucky and get a house in Ladera. It ain't that serious. People, why are you hating on her? You could have done that too, had the opportunity presented itself. It's not about, oh, well, you just some ghetto because you live in Watts. We came from Watts. What's your point? I don't get that. And I think Democrats understand that more than any of the other parties. I will admit I was intrigued when Bernie, whatever his last name is. Thank you. I knew it was an S. I started to say Bernie Smith. When Bernie Sanders was running, because he had the same ideals as Democrats, it just went off kilter for me on something, and I can't remember what it was. But yeah, that's my political.
Where did your views come from in terms of your political views, your spiritual views? What do you think they derive from?
A lot of it comes from my parents. My parents were, my father and mother, totally Democratic all the way. I mean,
so they were like Captain Vote,
Captain Vote.
They're like, you gotta vote.
Gotta vote.
Really?
When you turned 18 and what you mean you didn't go register to vote? No, I think they drove. Alan as well. They drove. Wow. I remember they drove. I think they drove Punky down to the office and made him register to vote. What? Yeah, they were big on that. They were big on that. And again, when my mother became a Christian, we did a total 360. We went from little kids dancing at the party. Come on, show Auntie Baby what you can do. Every holiday we was dancing, we was tearing it up. Whatever the dance was back in the day. We're not doing that. We're gonna play Christian music and we're gonna sit here and have a civilized total 360. It was so drastic.
So we got 30 minutes to noon. We want to be on time. We got one last, my favorite question.
Okay.
But what I haven't asked mommy this, but I'm starting to put it all together of the childhood you guys had. It's fascinating. What happened? What caused this salvation? Was she faded? Did something happen? Did an accident? That's right. So it was what year was this again? 71 earthquake. And then it was
instant change. Instantly.
Do you remember the earthquake?
Yeah. It was bad.
Where were you? What happened? What was the earthquake like?
It was the worst earthquake I've ever been through. It was in the evening, mid-evening, because it was still daylight. I mean, we didn't. We heard the stuff. No, we weren't asleep. We heard the stuff shaking, and I don't know what I was doing. I can't tell you. It must have been around dinner. We heard everything because stuff was falling off the walls. Yeah. It was a real earthquake. Stuff was falling off the wall. Yeah. And I remember my father telling us to run to the door and stand in the doorway.
Oh, shit, he did that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
I remember that. Wow, of course, we all couldn't fit in the doorway.
Right. It's a handful of doors.
Right.
I'm because the first room is like everybody got
right.
Like a big room. And then it was like a couple of right throughout the bathroom.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
And it changed her forever.
wow.
It changed her
Like the day after.
instantly.
Or the same day.
The day after.
She like felt God.
She felt God. She did. She felt God. And she never looked back.
Did she have a
Never went back.
conversation with you all?
Oh no.
Wow.
Like I said, the earthquake did, and we went on to the next day, and you go through the rest of the week. And I don't even remember her leaving that Sunday, but she came back wherever she went, and she said, "We're going to church next Sunday." Okay. We were also used to walk into our little church, pop up and taco. Okay. And we went to Bethany, and we went there for.
I heard about
Till I
Bethany. That
left.
was back Murray, right?
Yeah.
Bethany. I heard that so much.
Greater Bethany. It was when we first went. It was Bethany Apostolic Church, and it was right on the corner. It was a little small church. You had to walk up little steps to go to it. We built Greater Bethany.
There a few times.
We built Greater Bethany. It was Bethany Apostolic Church, and we had
building
church
fund, right?
all day, every day. We was at church for 8
Where's
o'clock.
Greater Bethany? So I know I've
The
been there
new
before.
one now it's not Greater Bethany. It's gone.
Oh.
When Bishop Noel Jones came, he took over Bethany.
That's why it's so familiar to
That's
me.
where he
I'm
came
like,
from.
why is
Bishop
McMurray
Bishop McMurray died, and he did not have. He had an assistant pastor under Senior Jackson.
Hoover.
It was on Hoover.
Yeah.
85th and Hoover.
I used to go there all the time.
Really? Better
Yeah.
It was the choir was bomb. We had the best. We had one of the best choirs in LA.
Amazing. The music
The
was
bomb.
amazing.
So Noel Jones, that Greater Bethany is where Noel Jones came from.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit! That was like history. Like
and he didn't like the location.
Wow.
He didn't like the location, and he wanted to move it, and we were all just like, what? I had left by then.
So did you know Noel Jones when you were younger?
Don't remember him at all. We had Bishop was the diocesan of the state, which means he had other bishops in the state of California that reported to him. And so we had bishops coming in all the time. Had never even heard of Noel Jones. If he came and preached once, and he didn't make an impression. I don't like Noel Jones. He doesn't move me. I've tried to go to his church, and there's some old Bethany people that are at his church. He doesn't move me at all. It's like Blake doesn't move me. Bishop Blake.
Yeah, when he was younger, he was dope and deep. But
Bishop Omer doesn't move me.
he's dope. Omer's dope.
I love TD
Like,
Jakes.
wow.
Love TD Jakes. TD Jakes he's the bomb. If I was in his state, I would definitely go to his church.
So let's get this question. This is one of my favorite questions. This created a whole new series.
I thought that was your favorite.
Nah, it's just one right here.
Okay.
We're gonna dive in. It's only some minutes. The last one. We're gonna let it flow for me after this. But Auntie Darlene.
Yes, nephew.
What do you want your family to inherit from you?
Materialistically, I won't sell my house because I want to leave it to my children and my grandchildren. So that let's say that first and foremost. And I know I get people that I get a call every day or something in the mail every day wanting to buy the house because now I'm near SoFi Stadium. My house is
Where's your house?
That's right.
down the street from the back of Centennial Park. I am 10 minutes from the Forum.
So
That's
what street?
right.
What street are you
That new
on?
place and Marlboro.
Right, you know, like where like Florence about the train tracks, and then like randomly go down to Centennial situation. You go up that street, that little, and it's like one of them streets.
Yeah,
One street. Like Hazel.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The next one.
Yeah.
Before you get
Stepney
to
Place,
the
because there's a
That's
Stepney
so
Street.
cool.
Yeah.
it's like in
Been there for
that's
years.
Inglewood.
Wow.
For years since I have memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only house I've ever been in.
My baby pictures.
Yeah.
Always been there.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
So I want my children and my grandchildren to inherit my heart. I want them to learn how to be compassionate to people. I meet people every day that I've never met in my life who we just spark up a conversation and hey, you need me to take you somewhere? I want them to inherit that because that brings you nothing but goodness to help somebody. My granddaughter and I was at Rouse one day and I saw this old lady walking and she had her little bag and I was like, I rolled down my window and said, hey, where are you going? She said, I'm just going up home. I said, where do you live? And she told me where she lived. I said, get in. Say, Ivan, get in the back. And when we dropped her off. I would say, "Why'd you do that, Grandma? You gotta help people. We're not here by ourselves. We've got to learn. We've got to help. We're all the same. I don't care about your ethnicity. We're all the same. And it's better for you, for your heart, to help somebody than to hold something against somebody." So I want them to inherit my heart.
It's so similar. It's so awesome.
That's so sweet.
I gotta say this on film. It's so special. So, like, first of all, on like just some left stuff, you're the first person we're interviewing who actually have assets, like material assets to inherit. I just gotta say that.
I'm not laughing at nobody.
That's a real thing.
But
I like thinking that's kind of fresh. Hey, Darlene got assets. You know, like, because this has always been like, you know what I mean? But nevertheless, you mentioned your heart, which is akin to all of the women so far.
Yes.
Like my mother-in-law just said love. And then my mom, she said forgiveness, and which is like goes into like love, right? Your heart, like you just said, you know. And so that's special. That's really special. How that's like a maternal kind of.
My mother had a huge heart.
Oh,
my mother had a huge heart. Can't take that from her. And I know that's where we get that from. My father, not so much, but. Yeah, he was a special man.
So greater than everything else, like when you think about Ivan and then Ivan's children.
Well, there's also Braxton. Frank has two.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
And then Keith has Kylan.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yes, he does.
Who I've never seen.
But he loves that kid.
Yeah.
Like it's on his. I remember his voicemail was like, "I'm probably off just being the dad." You know what I mean? He was like, "I'm probably off," you know, like yeah. I'm like, look at me. He was proud.
He's proud.
Oh my God.
So cute.
Proud dad. I haven't seen a prouder dad.
Yeah.
Man, he's
no, Frank's a proud dad. Frank
yeah, he
proud
is.
Dad.
Yeah. Keith, man. Oh, man.
That is so
awesome.
sweet.
So for all of them, you just wish like your heart. That's special.
Charles has a big part. Charles has a heart that's out of this world.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Frank has one, but it depends.
Yeah,
it has layers.
It's a calculating heart.
Yeah, it's a very calculating heart.
Because like I didn't know Frank was like had a relationship with Bean. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And then he will reach out to me. He'll just call, just to say, I'm like, oh shit, what's up, Frank? Like, dude. Yeah. I'm like, dude, he really loves.
Reminds me so much of my brother, Ruth.
Man,
my oldest brother.
He loves. He really loves. And I remember
he loves hard.
Yeah,
he does.
I remember when
he gets that from me.
And like Charles like exploded with love when I talked to him. He was like, oh. And it was like, what? He was like, where everybody at? And it was just one everybody, like, let's all get together, man. I'm like, he is just love.
Yeah.
Just like Keith too, man.
That's so
Keith really, man. They did.
Yeah,
they did. They did. And that has to be passed down to their children.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Baby, anything at all?
You know,
I'm so glad you're part of our family.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be part of your family. How does it feel to have Walter as a nephew?
Awesome. Walter is my. Oh no, there's. Awesome. Walter is very different from my other nephew, Junior.
Yeah.
Because Walter is, he's definitely, you can see his mother and his father in him.
How so?
His intelligence, his thought process is his father all day, every day. But his heart, his mindfulness, his manners, his respect is his mother. And you can see that in him.
That is so beautiful.
Junior is a lot like his mama. He's a lot like his mama.
I see that.
I can't remember his dad. I remember him. He's named after his dad. I know he was a tall, dark-skinned man.
I heard about James.
And his name was James Hilliard.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't remember what he did for a living, and I can't even tell you why they ended up breaking up because I think I was too young. But I remember Junior's stepdad, which was RB, who is Roberta's dad.
I think he was on the her birthday thing we did. If you see the pictures and stuff, we put them in the group chat. I think I remember, and you're like, hey, because he recognized mommy immediately.
I remember you
his name.
saying
I
that he
never seen
came
him.
on the
Yeah, he came on a little
that call,
little
her
thing.
birthday call.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, Joe, is that Joe?" I'm like, "Damn, who's this old dude?" And Junior was with him, and yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, because I don't think Junior remembers his dad. He may. I don't think so, because again,
I remember hearing the name.
Was broken up from him a long time.
That's all I had. Is there anything else you'd like to add or say?
No, I think this is awesome that you guys even came up with this thought to do this.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. Love it.
Yeah.
And I hope it's going to be well.
We'll see you in 2031. Yeah, God willing.
God willing.
Do everything. It's all
Yeah.
cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, we typically hug on film.
We hug on Phil. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to hug her first.
Oh, thank you, Darlene.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you for feeding me.
And all of that.
Thank you for the wonderful hospitality.
Of course.
Yeah.